第2轮，然后试着不要救人看看。我个人是觉得剧情上是救人的，所以我前面在玩的时候故意不讲话不录音，然后这第2轮就是聊天兼不救人这样。然后关卡还是玩，还是进去玩就可以了，就最后要过关的时候我会走出来。给我吹！
There is a place where the lost embers go as their light begins to fade.
这个游戏是那个无人升空
Ember
的
stood still, unable to face what was to come.
无人升空的制作款可以说，虽然说无人升空一开始评价不好，而且他还是有持续更新，然后而且他说下一款游戏就这个的时候还蛮认真的，所以他现在名声那个还不错。然后我们这一轮就是故意不救人。
The wall glistened. The painting showed embers on a sacred journey. Ember felt so afraid and alone.
抢劫，空气交出
That
来。
it was a relief to find someone to talk to. Ember froze, almost when they noticed a small satchel. The satchel felt heavy. Ember looked inside. The statue shone brightly in the light.
这一轮就是故意不救人，可我个人感觉还是游戏氛围会比较鼓励你能救多少救多少，最好是全部救这样。它整体氛围就是这个样子。
Ember noticed something wrong. There was a round space where something used to fit. To Ember's delight, the golden statue slid perfectly into place. Ember left, feeling sorry for the stranger now alone in the dark.
他整体氛围把主角描写蛮温柔的，所以整体上来都是能救国少救国少。然后现在是故意讲自然看会发生什么事情的，所以故意救。
The stairway opened into a dark forest. Ember could feel fear taking over. They'd washed up alone, somewhere very unfamiliar. Ember felt like they were being watched. The foxes howled into the night. The only reply was silence. The path was blocked. As Ember approached, the flame seemed to call out. With a feeling like falling, the forest had slipped away. Ember felt lost in darkness and ruin. The caged flame stoked new hope in Ember. Hope was almost within reach. The flame spoke and Ember listened. The flame lingered ahead. Was it trying to escape? Or leading the way? campfire flickered into life. The ghost spoke. Hope has returned to a forlorn.
谢够睡。我现在重玩第2轮啊，然后尽量不救人，看可不可以过关。
I will warm them until they choose to move on. Ember looked to the ghost for answers. This is a place between places, to travel through as your light fades, but none have passed on in a long time. The Forest King now holds us here, and those who linger will turn forlorn. Again that word, forlorn. I am just a guide along the way to fan the flame. So many lost embers have I seen, more than I could help. The forlorn are those who lost their way along the path. If you find them, send them to me and I will guide them. Ember thought of those they loved, those they'd left behind. The Forest King watches the doors. The campfire will light the way. Find those who are lost. Bring embers to the fire. Travel wisely. Return if you have lost your way.
哦，他强迫说一定要有一定数量，要4个人才会开门，然后后面那个框框是虚的，就可以不用救，他门一样可以开这样。算了，我重玩了，继续玩吧。
The ghost said, "Speak and I will listen."
所以他这个游戏就是真的很强调说
There are others lost along their journey.
帮助别人，就算你不讲帮，还有一个扣杆，说你要帮多少人才有办法过关，一个最低限固这样子。你可以跳过1、2个，可是它有一个最低限固，
Find them
你
and
要
I
救
will
人。
guide them.
按这个的话，就提示你说哪边有人。
Step backwards, little Ember. Look behind. Upon a small grassy cliff rests a forlorn.
好贵啊！一开始在玩的时候，听到那个名称会很接近那个黑暗灵魂的感觉，可是整体玩下来之后，还比较崇尚那个光明面啊，萤火跟卡的那种光明面的那种意象，它比较强调这个东西，这个游戏是这样。
The traveler spoke. You ever had roast frog, friend? I miss a good roast frog. Oh, how they crackle.
那个配音还不错，还有时候稍微装一下声调。这个看起来就好像那个果猫猫 跟别人玩躲猫猫，然后就被别人丢下来的小孩子，然后在原地哭的感觉。大家都不来找我，都跑回家了，这样子。
The stranger had been forgotten. They tried to follow as best they could.
这一关最难的是难在说，你一开始不知道说这个东西可以拿下来放这边，然后它一样可以供。你会有一个想法是说，它一定要放上去之后，它才可以转。然后当你知道这一件事情之后呢，就很轻松。就一开始不知道这件事情很麻烦，因为你会一直想要固定其中一个。很轻松，超级轻松。然后这个只要一个一个固定，比方说把它用乱。
But no one heard them when they fell behind.
我现在把它用乱了，三个都不一样，放掉，三个都不一样，然后先固定其中一个。这个只要一个一个固定就过关，超简单。这样子就两个了嘛，然后拿下来，然后固定一个就好，固定一个，对，然后把这两个连共的，把它用到跟那个一样，放开，然后不要固定，三个连共，你只要知道可以三个连共就可以很轻松。一开始不知道可以把这个拿下来，超级累。知道之后就超级轻松。
The stranger looked at Ember with surprise. Someone came back for me. Thank you.
看这个 bug 啦！我才刚救你而已，你怎么跑到后面去？然后两个人在这里，一个在这里，一个在那里。不只是悟空术，它还整个分身了，空时两边都是有。你分身之术，现在过不去。 它这个是原创的，可是它有用一点点那个北欧神话的那个乡间传说的那个小精灵的那个设定在这个上面。那个森林里面那个小精灵，可以讲话，也可以。
Barely visible through the murky water was the shadow of something hiding.
我知道，大白鲨。
And on a small pier with barely a sound, a lonely fisherman sat.
像这个谜题啊，它完全没有提示，它是很隐藏。我是后来捡到一张纸，而且是很后期捡到一张纸，才说什么青蛙要跪青蛙，要互相看这样，才知道要放。
The stranger was trapped, caught in a maze.
他这是推前推后，可是没有办法左右。
It was hard to make sense of this place.
然后刚进来的时候，还有个提示，就是它两个可以叠在一起，然后一起推着。它就是提示，人家没有讲。你要重复进来几次之后，玩了几次之后才自己感受到。所以这个游戏会新手不友善的地方，可是你知道之后，在过第二关、第三关的时候就会很轻松。同样类型的第二关、第三关就很轻松。就跟你讲，这就是解谜游戏的一个共通的一个毛病。他们有时候不太敢讲一些提示，你知道吗？
The trail just kept on closing.
不科学的前后科。可以说这个一个科。好细。然后这个就去补那个弓就可以了。弓就补起来就可以上。
stranger's voice was hoarse. I just need some time, I think, to see things clearly. The traveler said, "You sailed in here. Where's your boat?" "Friend, you need a boat. Go see the builder in the caves. Tell them I'm sorry I never came back."
他有一些在讲比较后面的事情。
The stranger had blazed their own path. Created their own rock, their own islands. They did not need Ember's kindness.
这个就一路搬过去。按下去。
But still, Ember stayed. Building a bridge should it ever be needed. The stranger met Ember's eyes. The two shared a moment of silence. The Ember was curious. "Where did you wake up?" "I'm headed for the crossroads. It's not far, I think. I've heard there's a nest there, a safe place."
它这个有一个好处，它虽然会讲后面的事情，可是就是你一开始一路前往后面东西的时候，你就是一路会听到传闻啊，然后他们对那个地方的看法什么之类的，然后你后面再去到那个地方的时候，你会感触比较多。所以说你在一开始玩的时候会有点不习惯，因为其他游戏的方式就是说，我在这张地图，他们 NPC 就会拼命讲这张地图的东西，然后跟拼命讲这张地图上面的谜题怎么解。可是游戏一开始不一样，他就会跟你讲说，我要去后面什么地方，听说那里怎样。可是他不会跟你讲说这张地图怎样。所以一开始会不习惯，可是你后面玩，如果玩到后面，你就会觉得说这个样子比较深入其境，然后比较有趣。虽然说一开始都不方便一点，因为你会希望一开始你会得到很多帮助，可是一开始他丢给你的东西是后面的故事，够吗？所以一开始会觉得新手会觉得怪怪的。
The fisherman murmured quietly between sorrowful breaths. The fisherman felt so useless. His former joys were hollow.
这一关就很简单。
Sitting out there every day by the pond, only the dark water to hear him talk. In that darkness, a glimmer flickered.
就是把火种拿回去。
A thought beating like a drum.
然后路上机关就会吹你，它会把你吹掉。
Round and round. I couldn't hold on.
所以你要把它转动。然后后面一系列的就照这个样子去挡那风。这一关就真的很简单。
It all started with a frog. Every day by the pond, a constant reminder.
然后我刚刚讲那个 NPC 讲那些东西都不是提醒，大部分都不是提示，给我讲都他讲去哪里干嘛之类的，都是在讲故事，而不是提示，对不对？像他这进来关卡里面，他讲的话，大部分啊，都不是提示，都在讲这个 NPC 啊，预告什么事情，他心态怎样之类的。可是他不会提示你说，你要把那个转过去什么之类的，他不会讲，你要自己去摸索。这个是他的缺点，可是也是他的优点，但是就让你更了解这个角色。可是缺点就是新手刚进来的时候很不习惯，刚开始会不习惯，因为你会希望有更多帮助。他只是在讲故事，他没有要提醒。
For a brief moment, the fisherman struggled to speak. He looked at Ember, hopeful. The fisherman spoke softly. There's a frog in that pond, a big one.
他的帽子超可爱的，一条鱼。
Saw him grow from a tadpole. We were friends of a sort. Spent every day side by side. So much better at fishing than me, that frog is. Catches them before I can bait them. Oh, it makes me feel useless some days. The fisherman sighed. I've wasted so much time feeling like this. The old man looked carefully at the pond, at their rod, at Ember. Well, listen to me here, rambling on and on. It helps, though, telling someone. Thank you, Ember. If you need help catching anything, you just ask.
然后我觉得这个游戏的剧情还不错，还有讲很多那个上期的故事什么之类的。比方说他跟下面这只青蛙在一起很久，他觉得像朋友，可是他抓鱼比他厉害，他会觉得会有一点点自己好像很没有用这样子。
You saw the frog? Did the frog mention me?
然后又非常在意那个青蛙。
You ask the frog about me. See what they say. Actually, no. Just... Please don't tell the frog how much I talk about them. Poor little worms. They didn't ask to be here. But how do you fish without them? One for me, one for the fishes. Slurp 'em down. They say catching a fish isn't the point. So I tell myself that. I tell myself that a lot. I chased old Blue Betty round this pond for years. Best days of my life catching that fish. Had to use myself as bait. Stuck on me head ever since. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The frog stared at Embo, its belly rumbling. Its eyes were fixed on Embo, but it seemed to mean no harm. Was this the frog that the fisherman spoke of? Embo could hardly ignore the rumbling from the frog's belly. The ghost said, "Speak and I will listen." Take the path east of here, gaze into the pond. The frog knows of a lost forlorn.
这一次就没出现，奇怪。有，没出现。
The old gate was locked.
FBI 有不要。好，可以看了，没东西啊。
The crow held its shining trophy tight. Inside was a scrap of journal. The strangers on the water went on without me. Where have I landed? Vines and thorns stretch out to trip me. The stranger whispered, "Ever feel like you are being watched?" I've never felt that. What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice.
这个就单纯跳跳的。想办法跳出一条路这样。再钻啊，再钻啊！看你这30公分往哪钻？顶到了哦。
The worm looked helpless, with no way to escape. As Ember picked it up, the worm let out a little yelp. The Wanderer's Diary. Unfamiliar trees, a path overgrown. Is this a resting place? A place between places? I call out, but mine is the only voice. He was nestled between the reeds, but it was just out of reach. It didn't seem like that would really help. The broken net hung ominously around the skeleton's neck. The stranger shivered in the cold. Warmth was a distant memory, stolen by the passing miles. They'd moved through such dark places.
看到什么东西摸就对了，看到什么东西摸就对了。
They lay down and closed their eyes.
摸一下不行，就摸2下。
The stranger blinked at Ember.
摸2下不行怎么办呢？你有试过摸3下啊？ 现在人数够了，我就直接开。缺2个，算了，救一救啊。
The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. The fisherman noticed the broken net Ember was carrying. Let me have a look. See what I can do. With a silk thread, the fisherman carefully knotted it together. With each knot he tied, a net began to form. Here you go. Good as new.
Go.
The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling.
啊，边吃啊，边吃啊！哎干！好，谢谢大家。
This was not how Ember had imagined the end.
谢谢大家。完结篇。ending。哦，大家可以回家啊！出门的时候记得那个手上的饮料不要掉到垃圾桶里面哦。还有3个眼镜要回收哦，要不然要罚钱哦。这几个背包要带走哦。OK， 完结篇，谢谢，谢谢。
The gurgling of water, a deafening heartbeat. But then... the fog returned Ember's good deed by leading them to a lost forlorn.
吓死！你吃完了真的被吓到。
The stranger stood alone. Their friends have fallen aside, retreating from what came next. The stranger had ventured on. Now they were deep in the woods. It felt so pointless.
你不会，你不会。
The stranger spoke hesitantly. Is the campfire crowded? Let me gather myself. I'll see you there. Ember found the wanderer's diary. The oily smell of frogs. They know more than they will say. They watch me watching them.
我想的就这个啊，就面向去吃告个比扣了个锅，然后不讲话。可是这个东西事实上不算是有提示，因为拿到的时间都很晚。它事实上比较接近另外一个 NPC 冒险的一个日记，跟一个收藏品。它收藏品就是用故事的方式这样写，做一个收藏这样。
The stranger spoke. You look hungry, friend. You bring any broth with you? There's a cook in the swamp. Makes a broth like you wouldn't believe. Keep telling them that it doesn't taste right. They'll keep giving you more.
是那个，哎，这个味道不贵哦，再给我喝一碗，加点盐，再喝看看，啊，然后就拼命试喝到饱，不用付钱，干。我觉得多加一点肉会比较好吧。肉味太少，都是那个菜味，太菜了。
The old gate was locked.
不能进来。
He was nestled between the reeds, but it was just out of reach.
可以进去白宫，可以进去白宫。不要。
The old gate was locked.
不要。
Ember placed the key in the lock and slowly began to turn it.
操作还蛮有趣的，互动性蛮高的，虽然就是很简单的。
Stranger gasped for breath. Dark water slithering above their head.
我觉得要试啊，像一开始就不要说东西要怎么拿下去，然后他就不能爬，然后东西不能爬，然后放着。好像有机关的地方，然后看到什么东西就摸什么东西，然后机关就开始蹦，然后就应对机关。
Slowly the tides ebbed, washing over old walls.
还是地板可以空，就把它往下放。
A safe harbor emerging from the inky depths.
然后讲那个开始全部复制而已，跟这个东西完全不一样，完全不会提示。
Amber reached out a hand. The stranger looked down. The ground feels good beneath my feet, friend.
"那片口那个红衣服都一直盯着我们看，跟变看一样，远远看着我们。然后到后面最后面就会起来解释说为什么。
The ghost said, "You have done all you can, little one. Your journey lies ahead."
讲到重点，他是实话，他是应景少年啊，应景老人，应景少年，不会怕落枕，好不好？
Little one, your journey ahead will not be easy.
应景起来。
The path to leave this place is blocked. I will guide others to follow after you clear the way. There are others like me who can help. You will always be welcome here in the forest. The stranger said, "Take care of those you care about the most." The stranger whispered, "Be kind to yourself." The stranger thought, "I feel ready to move on." The stranger spoke. "My head feels clear for the first time." With tears, the stranger said, "I had forgotten what warmth feels like." The stranger said thoughtfully, "I felt so alone. I was so lost." The stranger said, "Thank you for being so kind." Once again, Ember could feel eyes watching.
拍照，拍照，跑得快。
Ember uncovered a journal entry. Dusk brings the longest shadows. The lanthorn comforts me. Soft melodies from home. The wild things listen. Yellow eyes in graying trees. Ember approached the forlorn, but felt it was different. They said, I know what I need to do, what I need to feel. I don't want to be helped. Ember could not help. Not all problems were puzzles to be solved. The crossroads gate was locked. Do you know where we are? I've been walking forever, lost in the marsh. The two travelers were talking quietly. Yeah, I got so lost in the marsh, you know? Why go anywhere else if it's safe here? Yeah, never having to worry again. The birds scare me though. The two travelers were talking. Yeah, why go anywhere? Yeah. The birds scare me though. The guard squawked. Stand back, don't come any closer. The guard was protecting a path down between the rocks. Nothing down there but sadness and turning forlorn. Go see the Forest King. He'll set you straight. The Forest King, you'll see there's no need to keep going. He'll make a bird of you. Go get your feathers. The guard joked, and with the bag looking all nicely and shiny, both guards started looking at Ember with a deathly stare. The guard leered. The Forest King would like you, little scruff. Yes, come a little closer. Let us see what's in that bag. We guard the door to the Forest King. Oh yes. We decide who gets to see the king. The Forest King will want to see you. Yes, yes, come this way.
然后再玩第二次，就会发现它有很多细节在暗示后面的事情，就是很明显。只是你一开始在玩的时候没有说很明确的100%确定的知道的，然后你玩第二次的时候就会发现有很多小细节会很明显，所以它有一些小细节还做还蛮用心。
A feeling of foreboding overcame Ember.
每个男人都30公分是吧
Ember was terrified but tried not to show it. The giant bird spoke softly. Another little Ember. Speak, little one. Do not fear. The bird is a friend. Ember wanted to feel safe. Oh, little Ember, birds won't hurt you. Birds will take another under our wing. Stay safe in the nest, you'll never turn forlorn. Ember was still afraid. Is it the night that scares you, little one? See, night is gone. Day is here. Birds will make the world less frightening. It wasn't only the night that frightened Ember. The bird was disappointed. Stay? No need to help, silly forlorn. Hope is false. Hope hurts little ones in the end. The Forest King spoke so gently to Ember. Perhaps they could rest here for a while. It was hard to know what else to say. Clever little Ember. You will stay. You will not turn forlorn. Search for hope no more. Now take this feather. Feather means Ember is one of us now. Birds keep little ones safe. Birds should never leave the nest. The guards seem pleased. Clever Scruff sticking with us. I can hold that bag for you. Leave him alone, they're one of us now.
这样最明显就是他用人穿着那个鸟装，很明显，然后再加上他台词就说：“哎，他现在是我们的一员什么之类的，就是很明显的，他们自己也是最早这两个啦，就跟我们一样是那种恐物种的人，然后穿着不一样的装扮的人。”
Yeah, one of us. And we all shares bags and things. The stranger wanted Ember's attention, being careful not to speak too loudly. You should get away from here while you still can. You can't trust the birds. I've heard there's another campfire in the marsh. Well, that's where I'm going if I can find a way down. The travelers had disappeared. Their campfire remained. The ashes were still warm. Bird tracks lay in the cinders. Back again. Where's the other little ones? I'm sure we don't know. They left the quick way, right over the walls. Ignore them. They're just having a little joke. Yeah, having a bit of jokes. It didn't feel like a joke to Ember. He's resting now. It takes a lot, you know, turning night to day. Don't stray too far. The guard squawked. Stand back, don't come any closer. Nothing down there but sadness and turning forlorn. Go see the Forest King. He'll set you straight. Got your first feather, I see. Best prove yourself, Scruff. Stand watch here. Promise you won't let anyone pass. Ember didn't like deceiving the birds. But what choice did they have? They couldn't rest in that place forever. They had to keep going.
Oh, wow. Oh. Go 啦 ，Go！ 还要站在那边偷看。
This forlorn was not the same as the others. The forlorn whispered softly, I know what I need, but I may never be ready. The future is yours, stranger, but mine is mine. Ember left the forlorn with their thoughts. The time wasn't right, perhaps would never be. Hidden away was a scrap of journal. There are memories here, bound in rock. I hear their voices echo in the ancient stone. I find footprints by the cinders, a makeshift camp. Ember hurried away from the birds. The mist hung close to Ember, hiding them. The Forest King seemed frightened. The birds' crew. Ember would rather risk turning forlorn than become like them. Ahead there would be others to help, and maybe a way to move on. Ember found a scrap of journal. I heard them coming. The snap of a twig, a flutter of birds. A figure dashing through the undergrowth. Another like me? Travelers seem distressed. I'm sure it's fine. They'll be okay. But it's been a while since... It's my fault. The traveler whispered quietly, no matter where I go, I always end up here. No matter where I go, always here. Hidden inside was the wanderer's journal. Another face at last. A catcher of fish resting by a pond. We work together, silk and tar and aching fingers. My boat floats once more, though I almost wish to stay. It looked like a map, but pieces were missing. The piece formed a new route. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around.
它这个地图改变之后，它路径就会封锁路径，有蓝色的才可以走。所以这张地图的解谜就是玩，最主要就是玩这个地图。
It was the same place as before, but how? In a haze, they said, "You're just like me now." Going round and round and round and never escaping. An eerie scene, like a moment frozen in time. Inside was a secret diary entry. Pink, orange, red, brown, leaves gently dancing to the ground. Crunch, crackle, lovely sound, fall into a giant mound. A lost message was inside. The mist is thick. One way blurs into another. Where do I end? Where does the world begin? I cannot see far enough to tell. A section of bridge had somehow been ripped from its foundations.
Oh, 这边我没来过耶。
Gradually, more of the map was revealed.
它那个地图显示的就是说，你搬够这一块地图， 它这边的场景就整个被搬到那个地方去，这样，包含宝箱跟那个都全部搬过去那个位置，这样。它一直是这个样子。
It was like the map had been broken on purpose.
当然是怪怪的。先把地图全部收集起来，然后再一个找那个方法走过去，这样。
Ember found a secret note from the Wanderer. Something beckons. This place is not home. I trace the map in my head, recite the older myths. I have to move on. The mist revealed a secret place. Was it hidden on purpose? The stranger spoke. You know, part of me didn't want to be found. I said some things I shouldn't have. And now I'm lost, and it's too late. The skeleton looked peaceful.
库里卡、库里妈妈、库里里过啊！
Held tightly in its hand was a red feather.
吹，可以吹了，可以吹了。
The statue spoke, just as it once moved the hearts of the forlorn. The instrument you now hold has the power to move the world around you. Another before you took great effort to hide it deep within this riddle. The lanthorn began to glow. Ember found a lost message. The smell of hot broth and hearty stew wafts across the swamp. By the cook's pot I meet another. They are on their own path, but we promise to meet again. The skeleton looked peaceful. Held tightly in its hand was a red feather. Inside was a scrap of journal. In the orchard, I meet the stranger from the cook's fire, a stranger no longer. Together we fill their satchel, food and memories for the road ahead.
干有吃又有拿欸，干吃别人还可以2包外盖，我靠，爽翻了！看，有吃又有拿。
There was one last place to reach on the map. The Wanderer's Diary. An ancient throne sits empty. No one remains to guide or protect, but we do not mind. My companion shelters with me now. We cannot help those left behind. Ember felt a great relief to be out of the mist. The way through was ruined. Muffled by the fog, Ember was sure they heard a rumble. Could that have been the tremendous snow? Ember didn't mind getting muddy. The slide was such fun. A sleeping pig trotters in the air.
都跟我一样，干，吃饱睡，睡饱吃。
They looked happy.
吃饱睡，睡饱吃，爽。爽翻了。
The plant looked like it could take a hand off.
这个不知道。
And it was in Ember's way.
奇迹大战也有这个东西。
The plant looked, and it was in Ember's way. The fruit was giving off a sickly sweet smell.
你还把它吃掉了？好，没关系，没关系，给你吃，给你吃。它 bug 了，它不动了，要不然它会追着这个跑，然后把这吃掉。它现在不吃了。跑给我看看。
Ember felt a great relief to be out of the mist.
好，回来了，回来了。哇，这还是正常的啊，它会跟着跑。Fight.
Ember chuckled. The dangerous plant was no match for a hungry piggy.
处处万岁！你看，别跑！
A hideous odor filled the air. Suddenly, the reason was obvious. The pig inhaled a giant snort of air. Wait, what's that delicious smell? Ember shuffled nervously. Other embers fed me treats, but then stopped. You feed me now. You feed me now. It was junk. Maybe the pig would eat some junk. Ember found the Wanderer's diary. We stopped by the warmth of another campfire. The guardian spirit provokes us, asks what we hope to resolve. I do not understand the question. My companion is silent. As the pig chewed, a light grew in its belly. Surprising, a little sparky, but tingly in belly. But what I want is something more fruity. The pig would eat anything. Ember just needed to find more. Ember uncovered a journal entry. Naughty piggy, simple piggy, so easily teased with fruit. They are no help until they are fed. A few grow fat, wobbling on their trotters. And with each thing it ate, the light grew even brighter. Fruity, fresh, but tastes a lot like mud. But what I want is something with more crunch. Perhaps if Ember could satisfy the pig, they might be more helpful. The skull was disgusting. Perhaps the pig would like it.
Whisky.
This was the last thing Ember could find to offer. Crunchy, embery, not much meat, bit too bony. But what I want is, the pig's stomach made an almighty sound. Ember chuckled with relief at the large creature they had been so afraid of. The pig had vanished, but something moved beneath the surface. In a muddy pond, Ember thought the pig looked a lot less imposing. The pig shouted joyously. The water feels so good on the skin.
超爽的。
Join me, morsel.
吃完就洗澡。
The pig seemed happy, but Ember wasn't getting too close. Why do I consume whatever people put in front of me? I need some true nourishment, but there's none left here. It's so much cooler in this muddy pond. I can finally think. Thank you, morsel. Ember came upon another campfire lost in the wilderness. It looked long cold, but ready to be lit. The ghost said, "Speak and I will listen."
OK， 时间差不多。今天先到
This is the hollow marsh. Here hope was consumed before it could flourish. You must not lose hope, or you too will turn forlorn.
用厨房的东西一下，然后看
Ember thought of those they loved, those they'd left behind. There are others. Find them, and I will guide them. Down steps to your east, travel the path south, watching a pig grow unhappy, a forlorn lost hope.
OK， 刚好有个灌入。感谢观看啊！然后有什么问题可以留言聊天，然后我这边就先结束。然后我有双开啦，然后我聊天会看那个直播的时候，我会看那个酷曲，然后优酷我最主要是做那个留影片。OK， 拜拜。